There is a yin to every yang, and there is a shadow to every light. We talk about how women today often operate from their masculine side and how to be in your feminine energy instead. But it is hard and uncomfortable to step into your feminine energy if that side of you is wounded. So in this video, we are going to talk about how to heal wounded feminine energy and become more magnetic as a result. But first and foremost, what is wounded feminine energy and what does it feel and look like? Wounded feminine energy is insecure. It is needy, easily attached, and at the same time blameful and critical. The wounded feminine considers itself a victim of others and or its circumstances, and all of the above is the paintbrush with which it paints its own life and touches the lives of others. Wounded feminine energy blames others for its negative emotions and experiences and feels the need and entitlement to be saved by something outside of itself. The wounded feminine is often emotionally volatile, and the vessel for relief or to feel better is blame instead of transcendence. The wounded feminine often has low self-worth and therefore low self-trust. It seeks validation outside of itself just like it seeks saving outside of itself, which by coincidental proximity is then often sought in men and other women who may not have the wounded feminine person's genuine best interest at heart because they themselves are wounded. Generally, the wounded feminine expects a lot from others of what it should really be giving to itself. Wounded feminine energy within makes you focus on what everyone else should be and do to make you feel better instead of being that something for yourself and eventually others. The wounded feminine is chained by its other and self-imposed limiting beliefs, which severely impacts your experience of life. We attract and repel everything around us with our energy, and misery loves company. So when we dwell in our wounded feminine, we are stuck far down the emotional scale, and by that attract others and a life that fits just that. Healthy feminine energy, on the other hand, is secure. It is self-validating. It is understanding and nurturing, and it doesn't cast blame even where blame could be placed. That doesn't mean, however, that the healthy feminine accepts other people's bad behavior, because healthy feminine energy carries with it discernment and navigates life true to its boundaries. Where the wounded feminine tackles bad behavior with blame, criticism, force, and argument, the healthy feminine tackles it only with its attention and energy, its boundaries. It simply withdraws attention and energy from things that are needlessly negative. Where wounded feminine energy would argue, the healthy feminine walks away or withdraws. The healthy feminine is tuned into its own intuition. It understands that the validation and advice we seek are within and can never really be found in others. It understands that no one outside of itself knows better for itself. And even though you can seek counsel from others, no one really knows your path or can make choices for you, because the guidance system for your life lies inside you. Everything exists on a scale. We may all have some healthy feminine energy and some wounded, but where you dwell affects yourself and those around you deeply. So how do we begin to heal wounded feminine energy? The first way to make a major shift in your feminine energy is to let go of the victim mentality. Letting go of the victim mentality is extremely important because the wounded feminine energy's life essence is your belief that you are a victim of your circumstances. And the truth is, we can all consider ourselves victims of our circumstances, but the healthy feminine doesn't consider that at all. It's just not the state in which it dwells. Even when you feel like you are well within your rights to feel like a victim, there's ultimately a choice to be made. Whenever something happens to you, you can succumb or you can transcend and rise above it. But to do so, you need to free yourself of your chains of victimhood. Letting go of your victim mentality does not mean you don't acknowledge that bad things happen, including to you. It means that you don't cling on to how unfair unfair it is and seek to blame others instead of improving your own life. In short, you let go of the victim mentality by no longer attaching to the thoughts that arise when your mind presents you with the story of how the world or others suck and how you are a victim of these circumstances. You choose a different thinking path to follow. You must do this because you cannot defend your limitations and rid yourself from them at the same time. If you defend your limitations, you will keep them. And while you're working on letting go of your victim mentality, it's time to add on habit number 2, which is deciding on setting and practicing your personal boundaries. Women with high levels of healthy feminine energy, coupled with a few other characteristics, often end up with this extremely likable magnetic energy, even if threatening to some, and one significant way to achieve this is to protect your positive feminine core. And you do this partly by getting to know yourself, figuring out where your boundaries lie, and then respecting them yourself. Not getting others to respect them, but respecting them yourself. The wounded feminine relies on other people to shield and protect her emotionally and otherwise, and then cast blame where they fall short. But you are responsible for protecting yourself first and foremost, and healthy feminine energy brings this understanding. It is not always possible to protect yourself from negative experiences, but the wounded feminine experiences more of these by lack of setting and respecting its own boundaries, and then experience them deeper by not being able to transcend them. If you can't respect yourself, you become less respectable to others too. And if you can't respect your own boundaries, it's very difficult for others to do so as well. This is true always, but is especially apparent in relation to men, who on average speak more in codes of respect, whereas women speak more in codes of empathy. It is extremely important to treat yourself the way you want to be treated by others, and to achieve a better relationship to yourself, your focus should be inwards and not outwards. When you have a boundary, and you communicate it clearly and simply with words when necessary. Once. And then after that, speak only with your actions, with your willingness to participate, with your attention. Withdraw and walk away, literally or figuratively. However you aim for others to treat you, it is preceded by how you treat yourself. There truly is no one to change but self. The next thing that heals the wounded feminine is self-validation, and by extension, self-trust. Now, too much of a good thing is a bad thing, but there is absolutely nothing wrong with finding enjoyment in getting validated by others. When someone you care about tells you that you are a good friend, or when your significant other calls you beautiful, it is completely natural to feel good and wanting to hear that from outside of yourself. The problem becomes when you need it from outside of yourself. When you rely on validation from others, you cannot give it to yourself. And we all need validation. The question becomes from where it comes from. And when you cannot give or receive validation from yourself, you depend on others for it. And this makes you acutely aware at all times, even if subconsciously and energetically, that you are in lack. And then you live life that way. When you do not self-validate, you are always in lack, worrying about where your next fix of validation will come from. And this will cause you to people please, self-betray, and sacrifice your integrity to seek and receive validation from others, and then again blame them when they fall short of providing you with what you should really be giving to yourself. When you learn to self-validate, you become your own endless supply of what you need, and for that reason, you will not stress about or compromise yourself to receive it anymore, and you will live a more authentic life and become more magnetic to others. And this could be a video in and of itself, but validating yourself means learning to trust yourself. Whatever you need to hear or receive from others to feel validated, let's say feeling that you are a good friend or that you are beautiful, the next time you need to hear either, stop and tell it to yourself. It may not feel as potent at first as hearing it from others, because again, you may not fully trust yourself at this point. But that trust will build as you go to yourself for the validation you need and experience it fulfill you over time. Practicing self-trust building habits precedes trusting yourself. So do not wait to feel like you can trust yourself to start giving yourself what you need. Because if you are waiting, you will always be waiting and not improving. And once you heal part of yourself that keep your feminine energy wounded, you will embody more healthy feminine energy, and you will rise energetically above those who dwell in negative spaces. But after this change, the real challenge begins, because you will trigger people who will then start to try and tear you down. And luckily, you are much stronger once you reach this point, which you will need, because your next mission is getting to a place where others' wounded energies don't affect your own energy too much. But that is something for another video. If you need personalized guidance in healing the wounded feminine within you, I offer one-on-one coaching to those who are interested. You can also enjoy more exclusive feminine energy content in our safe space, The Gated Garden, on Patreon. And as always, all of the links that you need are in the description below. Thank you for watching, and subscribe to my channel for more.